Just when we thought a ceasefire might bring some relief, reports are pouring in about violations from both sides. So this is a complex situation, heartbreaking indeed. And today we are going to break down the key events, the ceasefire, and the latest accusation, because both parties are not innocent here. Let's get straight into it. So to understand where we are now, we have to look back just a bit. And we've seen reports about Iran attacking the US base in Qatar. This occurred on Monday, and what's remarkable is that Iran actually told Trump about the attack on the US base in advance. This was actually to avoid any injuries. Despite the Qatari defense saying that they managed to intercept most of the missiles from Iran, there was an issue. But one landed at Al Udeid military air base, which is actually very interesting. I myself didn't have an idea that America had a military base there. I mean, it's like you just can't have oil and... Anyway, let's continue. So, the US military base in question is actually one of the biggest US military base in Middle East. So, thankfully, nobody was hurt. And in that strike, Trump looks at it as a weak response against the bombing of the Fordo nuclear facilities. You could look at it that way, and you could also look at it in terms of it being a warning. Because given what we've seen in the previous campaign with Israel, or the ongoing campaign with Israel, Iran doesn't seem to be sending its high-tech stuff first. It seems to be sending the low-tech stuff first to overwhelm your savers or your defenses, and then later on, that's when they basically sneak the high-tech stuff in there. Looks that way, or that's what I've actually deduced myself. This is just my opinion. Anyway, so Trump also interprets this as a calibrated measure by Iran to allow for de-escalation. So the Qatari Prime Minister later helped mediate a ceasefire and called the attack on Qatari soil unacceptable, despite the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian expressing regret for targeting the base. Well, it looks like Qatar and Iran have a good relationship with each other. But the thing is, one side kind of seems to be on the American side, and Iran is pretty much by itself. Maybe it's China, I don't know. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. This didn't come out of nowhere. So Israel launched the first surprise attack on Iran. That was last week. And what happened was the strikes were basically targeted at Iranian nuclear facilities and its key top military officials. For me, it came out of nowhere because it kind of looks like Israel wanted this. And they found an opportunity to actually go for it, and they took it. For me, in general, I think that the attack was Israel attacking Iran. So Israel attacking Iran and saying that Iran has nuclear, is basically enriching uranium for nuclear bomb capabilities. For me, it looks like the investigation from the American intelligence, the one which said that Iran is nowhere close to. It could be, for me, I think it was correct. And the part whereby they don't have the nukes, it I kind of feel like it was a green light in a way. Anyway, so that's just my conspiracy. That's on the other side. That's just a bit of a segue. Anyway, so Iran claimed that 14 scientists had been killed, and officials stated that 9 people, including a nuclear scientist, were also killed in a strike on a residential building. In retaliation, Iran's missile strikes killed 88 people in Israel, allegedly, because we don't know. The thing is, from different news sources are saying different things. Some people are saying that the officials are suppressing the casualty numbers on both sides. Then there's also the other part whereby Israel is also concerned about Iran having received missiles from Russia and China, possibly recently. Because there was a situation whereby it was heard that it was stated that some Chinese aircraft or some Chinese cargo planes, which were headed to Luxembourg, landed in Iran and were never seen again. They basically just disappeared. So in all of this violence, there's a glimmer of hope. And the US President, Donald Trump, announced a ceasefire. That was yesterday. And he made the announcement on his social media, the Truth social, declaring the ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. This news brought a sense of relief across Middle East and globally. We've seen the global markets rally and oil prices tumble. In response, people are hoping for an end to this conflict. So Trump also publicly congratulated Israel and Iran for their stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what could be called the 12-day war. So this agreement was actually brokered by Trump himself in a call with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, with Israel agreeing so long as Iran doesn't launch further attacks. Crucially, the Qatari Prime Minister secured a Tehran agreement during a call with Iranian officials. So apparently even J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio were also in direct and indirect contact with Iranian officials, highlighting the intense diplomatic effort, basically saying that they were part of this deal. But the problem is, it's coming out that Tehran was not informed about the ceasefire. And the Iranian Foreign Minister, Sayed Abbas, says, as Iran has repeatedly made it clear, Israel launched a war on Iran, not the other way around. As of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. However, provided that Israeli regime stops its illegal aggression against Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intentions to continue our response afterwards. The final decisions for the cessation of our military operations will be made later. Now, this is a very interesting twist. It looks like the Israeli and the American side seems to be doing their own thing, and the Iranian side seems to be doing their own thing. So this comes to the point whereby now there's an issue of these allegations of ceasefire violations. After this ceasefire agreement, it didn't take time before there was reports of the Israeli minister issuing an order for new strikes to target Tehran. So this is a response to what he claimed that the Iranians fired missiles in a blatant violation of the ceasefire. But again, also the Iranians are saying that they never agreed on any kind of ceasefire. So the Israeli military is actually saying that they were able to detect Iranian missiles which launched hours after the ceasefire began. And immediately the Minister of Defense issued a high-intensity operation targeting the regime assets in Tehran. But Iran has a very different story. So Iran says it did not launch any missiles after the ceasefire announcement. Instead, Iran accused Israel of continuing the attacks for 90 minutes beyond the agreed ceasefire attack. It seems that I don't know who's lying, but at the end of the day, I will say I'm a little bit biased in a way, considering the part whereby, if I remember, Israel has basically violated ceasefire agreement before in Gaza. So I would say my chips are stacked against the Israeli side and saying that they might have actually violated the ceasefire agreement. So apparently the Iranian military headquarters claim that Israel was basically throwing missiles or striking Iran up to 9 a.m. local time, which was 90 minutes after the ceasefire was due to take effect in Iran. So both sides are pointing fingers. So what is Donald Trump saying? So he's basically in a situation where he's saying that both Israel and Iran violated the ceasefire. And he was not happy with either country, but especially Israel. Might have a theory, but I will say it later. Trump actually said that Israel unloaded or sent or fired just after agreeing to the deal. So he even issued a direct warning on Truth Social saying, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it's a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. This clearly shows the fragility and mistrust that remains despite the agreement. Again, comes to the whole point where I was saying that there is only one party which has actually violated its ceasefire agreement before. And yeah, that looked good for Israel. Bibi has been screaming about Iran's nuclear capabilities since 1984. This was way before most of us, way before a good chunk of the population in this earth was actually born. And on top of that, all the other claims of other countries, Iraq, even Libya as well, like the whole part whereby there's been systematic regime changes in countries, and then those countries end up in a messed up situation. When those countries end up in messed up situations or become basket cases and people flee, and they flee, well, to Western countries. And in Western countries, who are actually directly supporting some of these campaigns against these countries, end up saying, oh, we don't want refugees and stuff. So it's counterproductive. So my take is it seems that the Iranian officials are claiming that the bombing of Fordo by the B-2 bombers was cosmetic. And then on top of that, the Iranians responding with an attack on American military bases in Iraq and also in Qatar. It looks like even that one was that one was actually cosmetic as well. So then here it is, a ceasefire. which is basically being proposed by the US, and immediately Israel goes against it, and finger pointing starts. And now Trump is basically in a situation where he's like, both of you are actually in a messed up situation, which I'd actually say that's actually that's actually not a bad strategy. It's actually a very smart social engineering kind of situation whereby Trump has actually been put in a situation where he actually has a way out now. He has a wiggle room where he can actually say, I kind of gave you an option to back out of this, and you didn't take it. So you actually at fault. Same for Iran. And he could actually now just back away from this whole thing and let the both of you absolutely hammer each other. I'm not sure. Let's see what's gonna happen, or let's see what's gonna unfold in the next couple of days. And so far that's my take. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.